Dwayne Jackson dropped a $10 super chat. He says, if Shane doesn't show up, how much of a disappointment will it be? With that being said, if Danielson does retire, where does Danielson go from here? This is a great super chat, and yes, I do think Shane McMahon is showing up in AEW at WrestleDream. I probably have the craziest prediction. The other day when we were streaming, I was like, man, I just don't know what the hell they're going to do with Christian. I don't know what the hell they're going to do with Christian because Christian has an opportunity to cash in. And listen, I think what's going to end up happening is Moxley's going to end up beating Bryan Danielson. I think Bryan Danielson will lose in Washington. I think he is going to lose to Jon Moxley. I think Jon Moxley is going to have a very, very, very exhausting match to the point where I think Christian Cage will, in fact, try to cash in on Jon Moxley. But I actually think Shane McMahon will... I don't know if it's going to be Here Comes the Money. I don't know what kind of theme song it is, but I do think Shane McMahon's music hits. I think he'll be on the entrance ramp as Christian is trying to cash in. He'll be completely distracted. Jon Moxley will end up pinning him to retain. And Jon Moxley, Shane McMahon, and everybody will stand tall. And I think that's what they're going to do. I think Shane McMahon would be a massive, massive distraction. I think he'll be on the stage. I think he would be the one to prevent Christian from this. And what's actually really interesting is I think Tony Khan would actually have a lot of content to play off of this, because if this prediction were to come true, which I think it is coming true, I really think it is the situation, right? Like, I think Shane McMahon distracting Christian is exactly it's the exact way like you should kick off a storyline. They have that history in WWE. Listen, guys, AEW is struggling right now. They do not have anything truly exciting happening. WrestleDream is not an exciting build. They just had All In, All Out, Grand Slam. They have so much of this stuff that is happening. The reality is this: Christian Cage is going to come out. He is going to try to take advantage of cashing in. And then when he does so and gets distracted by Shane McMahon making his debut, you have several weeks or even months of potential storytelling. And by the way, Christian failing his cash-in does make a lot of sense because Luchasaurus, or Killswitch, right, he is not there. He's got some very serious health issues going on right now. Tony Khan spoke about it. We don't know how that's going to be. So, by the way, just a quick side note, hopefully Luchasaurus... hopefully Killswitch, hopefully this guy ends up getting better, because it does appear to be some serious stuff. But there is a lot of stuff that they can do.
Titus super chatted $99.99. I feel like Tony Khan does matches just to do them. It's cool, but the matches have no build up. Bobby Lashley is coming to WrestleDream. All the ones up for Ango. How could I get your merch?
Titus just dropped another $99.99 super chat. Absolutely insane. He dropped 115 yesterday. Now he's dropping 100. Titus says, I feel like Tony Khan does matches just to do them. It's cool, but the matches have no build-up. Bobby Lashley is coming to WrestleDream. All the ones up for Ango. How can I get your merch? My merchandise could be purchased at www.ango.live. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there if you want to cop something, some hoodies and stuff like that. Also really good for the winter season that's coming. Shout out to Titus for the massive super chat. But listen, it actually ties into the Shane McMahon Christian thing, honestly, if you really, really think this. If you think about it, Tony Khan does do matches just to do them. But this is one of those things where Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson could be an absolutely massive match. Now think of the content that you can get after when Shane McMahon shows up, because there is that history between Shane McMahon and Christian Cage being in the WWE. Plus, Christian, obviously, it justifies him losing his cash-in, right? He doesn't have Luchasaurus. He's distracted by Shane McMahon, completely shocked. This would be a massive, massive, massive way to end the pay-per-view. And again, it goes back to what I was saying. AEW doesn't really have anything exciting happening these days. There's not a lot of big content in this company. So the thing that really needs to matter here is how can you build some momentum? It starts with Shane McMahon, and it's a logical way to stop Christian from cashing in. But also what it really does, imagine how many viral clips you can get from Christian Cage, whose whole shtick is talking about wrestlers' fathers. Imagine Christian Cage has a promo battle with Shane McMahon, and Christian Cage crosses the line talking about Vince McMahon. You know, like, this is the type of stuff that, like, people might hate it, but it will get people talking. And at the end of the day, right now, AEW needs to get people talking. They are struggling to strike conversations amongst wrestling fans. And yes, at WrestleDream, I fully expect Bobby Lashley to be there. And I talked about it on the main channel in my video. Swerve Strickland is definitely teasing something. The Hurt Syndicate will be at WrestleDream. Shane McMahon will be at WrestleDream. The reality is, WrestleDream doesn't have a lot of ticket sales. There's not a lot of interest in WrestleDream. And right now, if you really want to create interest in the AEW product, you got to do big stories. It goes back to Titus's super chat. Tony Khan does matches for the sake of doing matches, and I understand that there is a huge percentage of wrestling fans that enjoy AEW that don't mind that, but the reality is the popularity of the brand has declined, and it's evident in the numbers and the statistics. It's evident in the attendance. I mean, if you guys just take a look, you can tell that AEW is not as cool as it used to be. They used to have a lot of flame behind that brand, and they've lost it. Bring in Shane McMahon, bring in the Hurt Syndicate, bring in John Cena. It doesn't matter who you bring in, it matters what you do with them. And I have been saying this literally since day one, which is why 2024 is such a weird year for AEW, because you get some really amazing storytelling between Swerve and Hangman, and then you get a card where it's Hangman Page versus a returning Jay White. It just, to me, it doesn't seem like there is enough emphasis on the build to these pay-per-views. And that is why I think my prediction for Christian Cage being screwed over by Shane McMahon is really good. And we didn't even talk about Bryan Danielson, by the way. Bryan Danielson is a guy who right now, as it stands, may or may not be with AEW wrestling for a long time. Like, I do believe he will go part-time. I don't believe this guy will be there long-term. So I think this is a very, very, very interesting situation, because if Bryan Danielson's not there full-time, Kenny Omega's not there full-time, you don't have Cody Rhodes, you don't have CM Punk, you need to create some, like, people. You got to put them on that level, man. You do. You're missing some top stars. You brought in top names. Adam Copeland's not there. Mercedes is not even on the card at this time. Like, there is just so much stuff that could be said about AEW. MJF is taking time off. Like, this pay-per-view doesn't have a great build, but I also think it would be really good for AEW to start getting better at building the pay-per-views, because I'm telling you guys right now, they have all the potential in the world. We've seen them do it before. This is not something new. AEW has created really, really, really good storylines. It's absolutely unbelievable we are at this stage that we are currently in, because this company, there is no excitement behind this pay-per-view. There isn't. I'm reading the chat. I'm reading the comments on Twitter. Your AEW loyalists who will defend this company through and through, I don't even think they truly even watch the product anymore at this point. I really don't. So that's the reality. Shout out to Titus for the $100 super chat. Appreciate you, big bro. Appreciate it, man.